to have the opportunity to listen a little bit more to what Kortney has provided for both Qualtrics and Weave, and then what she's doing today for Ampleo. So without further ado, Kortney, turn it over to you.
So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I am the LinkedIn version of what you see in the program. I was at Qualtrics for 8.5 years. How I got there was a long story, and then went and was recruited to Weave, where I led all their marketing. Went through both exits, so I was a part of Qualtrics for their first $8 billion exit, and then was a part of Weave for their IPO, which was a wild time to be in the market. And then before that, we won't go into me thinking I wanted to be a broadcaster for a while before that, or that, I thought I'd be a tennis director or somewhere, we'll leave that for the previous. But I did study marketing and HR at Georgetown University, and I'm the board chair for the UVU Women's Success Center. Super passionate about women's education as a means to elevate our entire community. So I will put a little plug. If you're ever interested in having a scholarship for your family or on behalf of a woman that you love, to reach down, pull somebody up, please come talk to me. Or if you have a couple $1 million and you want to name the Women's Success Center at UVU, please come talk to me. We just remodeled the entire Women's Success Center there, and we're looking for a named donor, and I would really love to get that accomplished. So, but who am I as a human? I am married to a CRO, and I mention that because I am proof to all the finance people that sales and marketing can get along, okay? We are proof. And we are also proof that we can create a great product, okay? So we have 7.5 creatures that live in my house. I have a fish, I have a dog. I mentioned that I'm obsessed with Queen. My dog's name is Freddie Mercury. I have one on the way, so that's the half. Very surprising, very excited, but there'll be a 15-year gap between our oldest and our youngest. And it's chaos and fun, and I love it. So I mentioned I'm obsessed with helping women. I'm obsessed with Queen and Oprah. I'm not a super fan of anything, but like if you get me talking on Oprah, I will just love her. And I love to travel and carbs. So you can probably bribe me with pasta at some point, and I'll be perfectly fine. I mention that because, marketing in general, we sometimes think, oh, we got to market to these businesses, but we're really marketing to humans, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. This actually is not my analogy. This is my husband's analogy, and I love it, and whenever he uses it, it makes me happy because he gets it. I'm guessing all of you are here because you want marketing to get you more revenue. Is that true? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But most executives think marketing is a coin-operated machine. You stick a quarter in and it's just gonna give you $10 back, and it's gonna be the perfect, and it's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be amazing. But it's more, I don't know if you've ever seen The Imitation Game, it's more 50 dials. That, I'm not saying this to make it sound complicated or that I'm like so good at my job, but it's 50 dials that if you have the right formula, you slowly turn and you slowly connect, and then you have success. And you have some codes that you need to have in order for that success to be true. And so today, I really focused on how, let me just get who's B2B in the room? Can you raise your hand just so I can see who the audience is? B2B, who's like more B2C or D2C? Okay, perfect. Just so I kind of get a sense. It's really dependent on your specific company, your specific product, your specific needs, but there's ways to get there together. So high level of what I hope to cover today, so you can just like right now, if you're like, I don't want to talk about this, just leave, I won't be offended, okay? I want to talk about internal needs, some foundational elements that you need that might not be super sexy, but you need, or else you're going to get chaotic and you're going to have a lot of random acts of marketing, which is what we're trying to avoid. External needs, what are the external foundations that you need? And then more so just some recommendations, unpaid channels primarily. I wanted to come through with things that regardless of what type of organization you have, what are some things that you might not be thinking of? That would be really great. So let's talk about internal needs first. So the internal foundations that you need to have a really great marketing organization that's impacting your company. So the first thing is, and I'm kind of always shocked at, and raise your hand and be honest, how many of you have a definition for what marketing should do at your company? Not surprising. And that might be like the simplest thing, but most organizations don't have a definition for what marketing is supposed to do for their organization. And I love this, oh, they're perfectly working together, they don't even use the same language. And that's most likely sales or marketing or finance and marketing or customer success and marketing, they're not using the same language. So you need to create and define what marketing means to your organization. And this can be simple as like an OKR model. We're going to do this by this date as measured by this. And it's a visionary statement or a mission-based statement, so it's a little bit out in the future. He mentioned in that keynote, I want to do this by this date, right? It's kind of similar. Put that definition out there so that they're marching towards a horizon point. And they might not reach it. You might have a very aspirational definition, such as marketing is going to become the primary source of revenue in the organization, okay? As measured by XYZ. That's aspirational if you're only at 5%, but it gives them a horizon point to get to. The example I use, this is my real example. I actually had another director I forgot to put up here. This was an example of my former team at Weave. I did it as Weave. I had about a 40, 50-person team, and 35 of those individuals had a different job than the person that sat next to them, okay? Marketing is a very broad, you can go a mile deep in your expertise. I like to say, I'm kind of a foot deep and a mile wide. That's my expertise, is being able to connect all the pieces and galvanize teams. But you could go a mile deep in your career just on SEO. So it's so important to define that definition, or else it is going to be chaos when you're trying to manage 50 people and one person is an SEO expert and one person is a designer and one person is an event coordinator and another person is a PR person and social media wants to add a TikTok in there and you're like, what? Okay, okay, there's so many channels, there's so many ways to do this. But you need to have that definition or you're going to be chaotic, okay? So the next one, oh gosh, I'm going slow. Okay, is align. So after you define, you need to align to the appropriate metrics both on the team and individual level. So there's the high-level company objectives. Make sure that they're aligned to something that's within that. This can be different. This doesn't have to be revenue or leads. I have a client who's also a friend who their only objective is awareness for their marketing team. Storytelling is their only objective. Joe's shaking his head, he knows. So you have to really say, okay, what do I really want them to drive? How many times would I ask a company, what do you want to accomplish? And they're like, well, we want more leads. Okay, well, I want more revenue. I'm like, well, does your marketing team own the whole sales cycle? No. Okay, do they own all the channels to do leads? Okay, you just start digging in, and there just is a little bit arbitrary because you're, as finance people, which most of you are, you want more revenue, right? So you need to align, and this is what I mean. This is a standard, I wouldn't say, it's pretty standard, but this was an actual funnel from one of my organizations that I worked with, is awareness, education, discovery, consideration, purchase. This is on the B2B side. D2C, it's a little cleaner, right? You get a product or you don't get a product, right? Marketing really, unless they own the entire funnel, can influence the top 3 things in a funnel. They really can only influence this, and I'll tell you where we can create overlap next. But it's very important to define your funnel too, Some of you probably haven't done that. And don't overcomplicate it. If you have 2 people in marketing and 1 in sales, it's so-and-so got a lead and they passed it to Jane. Joe got a lead and Jane got it, okay? There's a 2-step. Don't overcomplicate it if you don't have to. But you got to define your life, and you have to define your funnel and align your marketing to that funnel. Okay. Next is assign responsibility. So define, align, and assign. After you define it and align it, accountability is such a funny word because I'll do that in this. I'll talk about it in the summary, but you need to open the lines of communication between the teams. The example I use here when I did this wrong at an organization is I was leading the biggest budget holder of the organization. So I owned the biggest budget within Qualtrics, okay? I spent the most money, besides headcount operations, but just externally spent the most budget. And within 1 week, I threw the summer party. Not really fun, but not well aligned or accountable to what I needed to do. I think we were secretly going through the IPO process then and ended up getting acquired. So I was helping on the launch process for the ultimate acquisition. I had a large digital event. I did a trade show. I think I spoke somewhere, and I was all over the place. Okay, because I didn't know what I was accountable to. And so now I get ahead of that. This is an example of a real assignment that I did, okay, for an organization. You see, people have what they are accountable to and what their metrics are. But then there's cross accountability to say, I'm in charge of the number of leads, but I am accountable to what number of those leads qualify. I can't just give you leads. How many times we want more leads? Well, okay, great, but those leads aren't qualified. So I had cross accountability built in to say, that's what I'm going to give you is my leads, I have to have a percentage of the leads. I have to either get more leads or I have to get more qualified. Then SDR team, which at the time we ended up bringing into the marketing team so that we could work on this. They were in charge of number of sets of demos, but it was percentage of sets. So they had a cross accountability, and then completed demo percentage. This is where it's theirs. So you can build this so that everybody's working together. And when you define, I'll do questions after each section. So at best, things work. And there's always going to be friction. There's going to be learnings. You have to make bets. But at best, you have open lines of communication, everything's great. At worst, I have seen finger pointing. I have seen everything come down to attribution. And when everything's great and you're growing, very easy for everybody to get along. But when revenue starts to dip, you start getting a little bit, less fun sometimes when you have those moments. Having these frameworks allows you to continue moving forward together as a team and not imploding on each other, okay? So I'll stop here on this first section. Any questions so far? Go ahead.
On your previous slide, I know what SDR is, but what is AE?
An account executive.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Any other questions on tactics or things to do this? Okay. Awesome. And I'm not going to apologize for my amount of memes. I'm just not, because it's 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, and we're here.
Kortney, is it true that you're a stand-up comedian as well?
In a past life, yes. In a past chapter, I was, and
I won't ask you to prove it today.
Yeah, no, please don't. You guys don't want to hear my material. It's not exactly Utah County friendly, so. But I was a stand-up comedian, made me a better storyteller. And then I realized I didn't want to spend my whole life in bars. So, it's great. With really awesome mirrored tables that they thought were awesome. And Robin Williams did coke off of. And I said, well, that's fine. I don't want to be there. So here I am. So next is external needs to better ensure ROI. So these are the basics that you need to work on. And there is a saying, if you market to everybody, you market to no one. And I have made that mistake. I have gone out and I'm like, this event is going to be huge and it's going to be awesome. And we're going to get 20,000 people there. 20,000 people, that didn't matter, okay? I'd rather have 200 people that are exactly who I know I can sell to versus 20,000 people that kind of know who I am, okay? So clear positioning statement is you define the specific group of customers. So we're going to dive deeper into that one specifically because I think it's the most important part of a marketing statement. Frame of reference, describe the category industry, your unique selling position, what makes you unique. And on a personal level, I hate when people use their unique selling position as I'm just better than the competitor. I hate it. They're bad and I'm good. I absolutely hate it. When you use fear-based tactics, I'm sorry I'm going on a little bit of tangent, I hate it, but you need to find what really does make you unique. And then reasons to believe. This is usually facts and figures. I love using data, especially if you're a B2B company. We improved their market share by X. We saved them X amount of time, our customers. We saved them this much money. So money, time, effort. If you can really put that into a number, that's usually the best social proof that I've seen. This is from a friend. He put this out and I loved it. Just positioning is precise, concise, fact-based, a little bit aspirational, and the foundation for all external messaging. This is an example. For unique food experiencing loving consumers, brand is leading provider of delicious, organic, gluten-free snacks. I don't know how that could work together, but some people can make it happen. That offer delicious taste and superior nutrition without sacrificing taste. Our products are made from sustainably sourced products and have received top ratings from nutrition experts. So it's really concise, but most people, you know what you do and you know how you do it. Put that in there and then say, who are we actually targeting? And you're going to move forward a lot faster that way. I'm diving into this one specifically a little bit deeper because it's that important, is just know who you're targeting. I have spent a lot of time with really great ideas in marketing, and that went absolutely nowhere, and I did spend a lot of money, and my finance team still liked me, but they didn't love me at moments because I just was so excited to do this. So please know who you're targeting, and these are some of the questions. There are so many things you can go into when it comes to your ideal customer profile. Demographic is number one. And I don't think I put that in there, but HubSpot did a study where they asked their customer base on an annual basis, who's your ICP? 50% didn't even know the demographics, means simple demographics. They didn't know their age, they didn't know their gender, and they didn't know their income level, okay? So 50% couldn't even go deeper than that because they just hadn't asked the questions. Now, you can have multiple ICPs. You do not have to have one, but you need to have a specific marketing strategy for every ICP that you have. If you sell into a different vertical, if you sell into a different person. This one, if you're in B2B, is very important, is industry, title, typical revenue, and company size. Now, you can be aspirational and want to go up market, right? But that is going to be a different ICP that you're going to apply a different strategy to. I'm going to use this as an example. Be honest, how many of you have seen the Barbie movie? Raise it high.
Twice.
Raise it high. Okay, raise it high. I like it. Okay, guess what? You weren't their target demographic. So I'm not surprised that only 4 or 5 of you raised your hand. But I also have a question for those. Raise your hand again. Raise your hand high. Okay. Awesome. How many of the men got brought to a Barbie movie by a woman? Yeah. Yeah, all of the men that raised their hand, that proudly said, I loved it, and we're not going to get into whether you liked it or not, were brought to that movie from their target market, and it's become one of the most successful successful movies ever in terms of profitability. Their marketing machine, I was talking to my husband about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope this movie is freaking good because they are just like over the top. $150 million spent on the marketing of the Barbie movie. And my husband goes, really? I haven't really seen anything. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's all geared towards me, okay? A woman aged probably 28 plus that has income to spend, and I was their target demographic. Okay, so define your positioning and your target audience. It's going to make you more efficient. You're going to waste less time, which means you're going to waste less money, you're going to waste less effort, and you're going to be able to move forward faster. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm like barely. Any questions on that? Any questions? Go ahead.
Did you watch the Barbie movie?
Of course I did. And I loved it, and I cried, and I laughed. Yes, I'm pregnant, and I'm here. But yeah, so I don't know if it was because I was pregnant or, just because I loved it. It was very nostalgic for me.
Courtney, you can take an extra 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah. If I just sit down at some point, if I have to go to the bathroom, if I start crying at lead generation, just know it's all in here. Unpaid and paid channel recommendations. So I started here because the best ROI is an ROI on $0. It's the best, okay? And this is somewhere I think people go wrong, especially when they're starting off in marketing. And I have loved agencies, okay? I'm not an agency. I'm gonna find people that help you. But I've fired many agencies too, because agencies want to immediately give you paid and say, let's go market, let's go put some ads out there, let's go do all this stuff. And what's good about paid is a lot of those channels have very good analytics for them to report back to you with. But you're going not waste money. We'll talk about that. But I want to start with unpaid because this is going to be universal to everybody in the room regardless of the organization you have. Before I get into some specifics, you need to optimize your website, okay? 87% of all shopping for both services and consumer goods starts with an online search. Anybody not gotten a product or service because the website was bad? Raise your hand. Every single person. This happened to me a week ago. My son wanted to play soccer. I went to the rec league website. They didn't have soccer, great. They recommended something. Couldn't find information to contact them. I bailed, okay? I'm like, he's 6, he'll be fine, It happened again. It was like another website. And these were private organizations, not public rec programs, that were looking for people to use their service, and I bailed, okay? So while consumers do not expect you, this is just statistically, they do not expect you to have the same experience that multi-billion-dollar brands have. 70% of consumers want to shop on a local website, okay? They're not expecting perfection, but you need to optimize your website. And I'll just stop there, because, yeah. So the first one is email is not dead. This is wild. I think I actually have it in the next slide. I'll come back to it. 99% of 4 billion email users check their email every day. Of those, 58% say that is the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning, if they're being honest. I think what happens in marketing is people have these channels, and they have these buzzwords. Email marketing was really hot, 20 years ago. And then something new comes out, and they push that away. Okay, email marketing is not dead, whether you're B2C or B2B. This is something I am always shocked. People are like, oh yeah, I email. Add value to your customers. The example I'll use is during the pandemic, everything shut down. B2B was crazy. Everyone wanted to shut down all their services and renewals. We had the highest grossing months, gross and net, for 3 straight months. And the reason was because we had been emailing content to our customers and prospects, dripping them value for about 6 months. They were ready to buy. They had moments to sit down with us, and they were reaching out to us because we had continuously added value and content to their lives via email. So email's not dead. Social media is important and needed, but it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And so I'm giving you permission not to be on all platforms. I heard a yes. Yes. You don't need to be on TikTok. I know. I went down that rabbit hole, and it's a rabbit hole. Going back to your target audience, only play where your target audience is. Optimize your profiles, engage with those that are engaging with you, and collaborate. So you do not need to be everywhere. But going back to building your own channels, I use social media as it is needed. With email, does anybody remember, I looked this up, it was October 2021 when Instagram went down. Okay, does anybody remember this? So Instagram went down for 6 hours. It cost Facebook and Instagram $100 million in revenue. The impact economically for all those businesses, they don't even know. They think that it might be even 10x, about $1 billion lost from people that had relied on their platform and that audience to continue their e-commerce and their products. So while social media is so important and it's changed the ability to get into the market, which is incredible, building your own audience and diversifying those audiences, whether it be through your email, CRM, multiple different social medias, will allow you to continue working, especially as algorithms get updated. Google changes their analytics and you're like, what the heck? You have to be able to have a couple other dials so that you can continue working. Your customers are your biggest revenue source. Everybody knows this, but they still don't do it. And I don't understand why. Okay, repeat customers spend 67% more, they cost 5 to 10 less, and they convert at 65% versus 13% for new. So when you're coming to me and say, I want more leads, or I want more revenue, this is very basic information. These are things you know, but I'm reminding you of. Add value to your customers, and then go back to them. Go back to them with a new product. Go back to them with a new service. Talk to them about something that they're doing. During that same example for the pandemic, we added value to our customers. We gave them kits. We gave them content. And it wasn't necessarily new products that were all selling. It was. Our net revenue retention went up by like 30% during those months because customers were coming back and saying, you've always been there. We love you. We're struggling. What can you help us with? Okay. Okay, this is other people's audiences, but this is unpaid. Leverage your own employees' audiences and expertise. You have experts in your own organizations, and they have their own followings. And most likely, their followings overlap with your target audience. Micro-influencers can become big when they're combined. So if you have 10 employees in your organization, and each only has 800 followers, like let's use Instagram as an example, that doesn't seem like enough, right? You go 10 times 800, that's 8,000 people that if you push something out via your employees, they're going to be more engaged. People are going to pay attention more. The authenticity is going to be there. One example I'll use on this is we did do a big, large digital event. We were averaging about $22 per paid registrant for the event. So we were going out with a big paid campaign. We would average $22, and we actually were doing good on what we needed to do. We offered each employee $5 for every registrant that they signed up. $22 to 5, right? They drove 15% of the registrations, and it maintained a conversion rate of those that we were targeting on our marketing channels, okay? So your employees are a wealth of information, and they're a wealth of influence, and they have networks you're not utilizing. Okay, other people's audiences, guest blogging, appearances, and podcasting. I know using your time for free sometimes is hard. Please, anytime you have the opportunity, you jump at it. When somebody opens a door for you and your brand and your message, even if it's, they only have like 300 downloads on their podcast, show up for that, because you're going to reach a broader audience. You're going to overlap with your target audience, establish authority, and then make sure in these processes you're asking for the content. That SEO we talked about, you're going to get backlinks from their websites onto your websites. You're going to have more authority, and you're going to move forward, okay? So, yeah, that's just something I hear from some of my clients of, well, it's free, it's not driving money. It's like, that's huge for that. User-generated content is gold. This is also, I put reviews into here. Your reviews, last bullet point, timing's key, drives me insane as a marketer when I authentically give someone a shout out on any type of platform and they don't reshare it. Because I'm like, I just gave that to you for free. Most, especially millennials, they will generate a lot of user-generated content, okay? They will shout their friends' products out. If I love something, I will say that I love it. But your organizations, you're not using that. Your reviews that you have, snapshot that. Put that on your Instagram. Tag that person if you can have their information and be like, thanks so much for everything you're doing. We appreciate this comment from so-and-so, user-generated content. How many times, though, on a personal level, does somebody tag you in something and you want to reshare it, right? You're like, oh my gosh, somebody thought of me. It's the same concept for your business, but you're not paying attention. Okay, build your own audiences and utilize other people's audiences. Questions on this? Nothing? Okay, either I'm like crushing it or,
Crushing it. I got a question from a couple slides back.
Yeah.
CTAs, strategic CTAs. What do CTAs stand for?
Calls to action. Yep. So on your website, there you have, even if you have it great, it's optimized, you're not driving action. So make sure that you're driving action on those websites.
Kortney, real quick, just on the social media slide, clearly, there's no way every company
Yeah.
can be involved with every single one. How do you go about making the best decision there? Like, what have you, in your past experience, kind of looked at? Any guidance there?
Yeah, so if you, first, your target audience, we talked about that. There is very transparent information on each of those platforms of what their demographics are. So if you're targeting middle-aged white men, okay, Twitter and LinkedIn.
Middle-aged.
Yeah.
I'm there.
You're middle-aged.
You're pointing at him when
I
you
was
said
pointing at you. I was. You're 30, right? That's middle-aged.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, okay, side note, tangent on that. I have a sweet little girl that I coach. I'll call her a girl now because she called me old. But she's like 25, and I said, and after you, in 10 years in your career, you're going to look back, in 2033, you're going to look back and you're going to see all these skills that you connect. You're going to connect the dots. And she goes, 2033, I'll be 35. I was like, how old do you think I am? You think I'm 50, 60? That's not even old. Anyway, it was just so funny. I was like, okay, age is relevant. And then I went to a wedding with an 87-year-old, and I was dancing with the grandpa, and he goes, I feel 55 again. And I go, there you go. So, that happened within 24 hours, and I went, age is just a number. So look up their demographics. Look up their targeting. If you are geared towards, Instagram's actually not on that slide. Sorry. Instagram is going to be more, they're actually starting to skew, kind of like Facebook did. They're starting to skew older, but they're still in a lot of more women, okay? This is one I think that people do not utilize at all, Pinterest as a content generator, as a search engine. TikTok is going to be Gen Z. So I'm giving those generals, but they will specifically be like, here's our daily audience, here's our demographic, and then you can align to that. And it's okay if you want to try out TikTok, try it, you know, and go for it.
So what's your take on Twitter X video and where they're going?
I have a love-hate relationship with Elon Musk. I think it's dumb, but Elon doesn't make things fail, so they will make it happen.
Not so much the branding,
Oh.
but the positioning where they're taking video,
That's,
where they're taking everything.
no, that's what I mean on that. The branding, yeah, I actually don't mind the change. I mean, I think it's dumb, but I think that Elon won't let it fail. So that's personally my position. But some people, it's fine. There's a great Sunday morning just this past week on Elon, and he's fantastic. Okay. I just caveat on that. It depends on your target audience. I'll keep saying it. It depends on your target audience. Okay, this one will be quick. We only have 3 minutes, so I'm just going to do the first 2 slides. Local should be considered. Billboards. I'm not a billboard expert. Actually, Joe is a billboard expert. I haven't done that, but it's huge. And local should be considered. So I had a customer fly in, drive down the I-15 down to our Provo office, and we're just having a good time, and we had this whole meeting. He goes, I just have one question. I go, oh, tell me. He's like, who is Ken Garf? And I laughed. And he's like, and why, they're so good at listening. I was like, yeah. Okay, one interaction, one I-15 drive, that guy knew who Ken Garf was and wanted to know what he was doing, okay? So local still matters. This is television spots. This is a little bit more general. 70% of major, I got this on a podcast. I need to make sure that this is correct, so please know. 77% of all statistics are made up in the moment. But it was something like 70% of the top 5 networks, their ad revenue is driven by pharmaceutical. And I was like, whoa. And then I started watching. I was like, whoa, okay. One, television, you will have a refreshing view that people are still going to have to watch. And local television is much cheaper. The 2024 rate for a Super Bowl ad for 30 seconds on a national level is going to be $7 million. For a local spot, it will be about $30,000, okay? And it's going to be more specific to your target audience. Billboard advertising, radio. Radio still has the majority share of daily listeners. You think of Spotify. The biggest thing about marketing that I remember from college is you are not your customer. The things that you love are not going to be what your customers love. I still use Pandora. I love Pandora. I have had 20 years of curating the perfect Prince playlist, and I will not give up Pandora, okay? So radio still works. Movie theaters, this is something that went so down, is coming back up. And I've seen one client of mine who's just a local dermatology. They have crushed it. They started with 0, just movie advertising within their specific demographic, within the 3 theaters that serve their city. So local is not dead either. Yellow pages are. Don't be in the yellow pages, okay? Don't do that. That one's dead. That one's for sure dead. And then experiential marketing is making a comeback. In the age of AI, after COVID, people want to be together. And the attendance rates are higher than they were previous. So in 2019, attendance rates for digital events, they went from like 30%, and then during the pandemic went up to like 60%, went back down. Attendance rate from 2019 to 2023 is higher, okay? So people want to come back, and they're exciting again. We'll take it back for this event. We mentioned email marketing and social. How many of you signed up because you heard about this event from email? Anybody? Okay, about half the room. How many signed up because you heard about it from social? Okay, what other areas? I'm curious. Where did you hear it from?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth, okay. Okay, word of mouth, social media, and email. That covered pretty much the whole room, right? So events are back. Direct mail, when done well, is sticky. And incentivizing time is never a bad idea. Offer $5 for their time. $5, Starbucks, let's go. So I'm going to end there. I'm actually at negative 30 seconds. I'm sorry. What questions do we have? Any questions? You can ask me anything. My perspective on Elon Musk, when I'm having a baby.
Is that stat true? 77% of stats are.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. It's actually like 100% true. Might be a little embellished, but okay.
Kortney, real quick, what was like when you look back over at Qualtrics and Weave? Is there one, let's just say, campaign or marketing moment that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I love that. It ties back to the keynote today about manifesting. I've loved Oprah forever. I mentioned Oprah. I wrote a list, top 75 things I wanted to do before I was 75. Number 33 was meet Oprah Winfrey. I pitched an event to Ryan Jared and Scott Smith called, at the time, Qualtrics Insight Summit, became the X4 event. And they said no. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard about the X4 event. I think they're at 15,000 attendees every year. And on my pitch board was Oprah Winfrey. Like, we're going to bring Oprah. This was 2012. Fast forward 8 years, about 6 years into the event, Oprah came to my event. And I met her, and I cried, and she gave me a hug. So, so that's a little bit of manifesting. What are you manifesting? That's where in all of your businesses, I'm going to just tie this as a life lesson. I know that work is so stressful, and it can be so hard. But if you're manifesting what you want, work will follow. Even me being in this Ampleo position, I set up what I wanted to do. I didn't know how it was going to happen. All of a sudden, I'm in a breakfast with Joe. I'm now an Ampleo consultant. I had my own consulting for 2 years. I still do. But like, don't view that, sorry, I'm getting philosophical now, but that work path as, oh, I just have to make money. What do you personally want? And your work path will follow, and it's very weird because you get to do things you actually want, and then work becomes really, really fun. So I'm having fun. Other questions? Okay, can I get a selfie? And this is why. My daughter this morning saw me dressed and not in sweatpants. And she said, where are you going? And I said, well, I have a presentation. She goes, well, what's a presentation? I said, oh, it's when mommy gets up and talks to people. She's like, oh, like Miss Tobler. And I said, yeah, like Miss Tobler, her 4th grade teacher. And she goes, well, how long is it? And I go, well, it's probably going to be like an hour. She's like, oh, well, Miss Tobler gets up for 6. So, so I have to prove to my daughter that I did talk to people and show her that it's slightly different than Miss Tobler. But all right, everybody try to get in. We'll come back here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Okay, if you have any questions, please come up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.